My model girlfriend was dating me for money, so I secretly used her connections to get revenge. Now my ex is trying to get me back. I'm 29 and I've been dating my fiancée Bella, who's 25, for almost a year now. Bella is an aspiring model and an incredibly beautiful girl. So beautiful that for the first few months I couldn't even believe we were dating. My friends, by the way, couldn't believe it either because I look completely ordinary. Even though they say looks aren't everything, I still felt strange next to a girl who was so much more attractive and different from me. I was perfectly happy with simple dates, but about 6 months into the relationship, she started hinting that we should get married. By that time, I was so in love with her that I was ready to fulfill her every wish. So 7 months after we started dating, I decided to propose to Bella, and she agreed without hesitation. My friends and family were a bit shocked at how fast everything was moving, but since I was happy, they were happy for me and didn't ask too many questions. Things were going relatively well in our relationship, and although we had our ups and downs, I believed our love was real, at least on my end. But about 3 months ago, she invited her friends over to help with the wedding preparations. I was feeling sick that day and was napping in the bedroom, but after a while I got up to get some food. I stopped near the kitchen because I heard Bella and her friends talking about me in the living room. They didn't see me and kept saying nasty things about me, laughing at their mean jokes. They were making fun of all my insecurities, and I stood there burning with anger and shame. The worst part was when Bella herself joked that she had bagged herself a rich dumb guy with a modest appearance and was now living the dream. That terribly cruel joke made them all burst into laughter. I went back to the room because I couldn't listen anymore. I didn't even want to know what else she might say. I was just burning with rage inside. I wanted to break up with her right then and there, but I held back and decided to play the long game, to use her just like she used me. I'm a web developer and make good money, so I pay all the bills since Bella can't afford it. She's just starting her modeling career and doesn't earn enough to support the lifestyle she wants, and her parents aren't rich enough to help her either. So she's very financially dependent on me. She even moved in with me just 2 months after we started dating because she said she didn't have enough money for rent. I suggested she stay with me temporarily, but she never moved out. Since then, I've been covering all her expenses. I pay for her taxis to castings, her clothes, accessories, cosmetics, and everything else. So she wasn't entirely wrong. She really did find herself a rich, dumb guy. When I overheard that conversation with her friends, I went back to the room and was about to break up with her. But then I decided not to dump her because I came up with a much better plan. I have a cousin who's been trying to become a model for a while. Let's call her Irene, she's 23. I knew for a fact that she didn't have much money herself. Her father is an extremely successful businessman, but unfortunately he disapproves of her career choice, thinking it's a waste of time, so he refused to help her until she could land a few modeling contracts on her own. Irene moved to our city a few months after I started dating Bella, and I knew she could use my help. But Bella forbade me from helping her, saying the modeling industry was too competitive, and if we helped Irene with contacts, she could become a threat to Bella. So Irene had to make her own way. Even though she had her father's credit card, she was still very young, had no connections, and was terrible at networking. However, after what I heard from Bella and her friends, I was determined to help Irene. In return, she had to send me half of every contract she landed thanks to my tips. From then on, I started tracking all the castings Bella went to, met the right people there, and then passed those contacts on to Irene. Sometimes she got the contract, sometimes she didn't, but each time she sent me a full $1,500 because she was angry at her father for refusing to help her. It was a great deal, and who was I to complain? If she wanted to teach her father a lesson and I was making money from it, she could be angry all she wanted. I was completely happy with this arrangement because I was getting richer every month. Of course, I had to hide all this from Bella because she would definitely have gotten suspicious if I'd suddenly started showing interest in something I'd never cared about before. This went on for several months, and over time I completely lost feelings for my girlfriend. I still didn't break up with her because I kept using her connections to help Irene, but aside from that, I tried to minimize our communication. I was romantic and sweet with her when we were together, so she had no idea what was really going on. I also told my parents a week after hearing her nasty comments about me that I wasn't going to marry Bella. They didn't know the details of the situation, but they knew the wedding was off. I, of course, didn't say anything to Bella, and she kept planning the wedding, asking me to book a venue and arrange contractors. I agreed, but did nothing. This week, several things happened at once, and she finally found out everything I'd been doing behind her back. The wedding invitations were supposed to be sent out right about now, but as I said, I hadn't prepared anything. Besides, my cousin Irene finally signed a contract with a very prestigious modeling agency. She was incredibly grateful to me, and even her father was appreciative, so he sent me another $5,000 for all the help. To be honest, they're pretty generous people. So a few days ago, when Bella asked why the invitations hadn't been sent yet, I decided to finally come clean and end our relationship. I'd spent many months on this charade, and now that I'd made enough money from it, I saw no point in continuing the act. Irene had achieved what she wanted and no longer needed my help. Plus, I had absolutely no feelings left for Bella, so there was simply no reason to stay with her. When she asked about the invitations, I told her the truth, that I had done absolutely nothing to organize anything and that there would be no wedding at all. She was, of course, shocked and asked if I was joking. Then I admitted that I'd heard her little joke with her friends and hadn't forgiven her. When she asked why I stayed with her for so long, I told her I'd used her to advance Irene's career and that Irene had paid me very generously for this help. Since I decided to tell the truth, hiding anything was pointless, so I confessed everything honestly. She was stunned by what she heard, and her reaction was just hysterical. She cried, screamed, and made a scene, saying I had betrayed and used her. I told her it all happened solely because of what she'd said about me behind my back to her friends, and she started claiming it was just a joke. Well, the joke wasn't funny at all. On the contrary, it was very offensive and humiliating. We argued about it for a while, but then she gave up and said I had betrayed her in the worst possible way over a simple joke and that she wouldn't even wish that on an enemy. She broke down completely and said she really did love me, and I didn't even think to talk to her first, instead deciding to destroy our relationship over some stupid joke. I stood my ground and explained that for me it wasn't just a joke, it hit a nerve. Jokes are supposed to be funny, not outright mean, and her words sounded exactly that way. It wasn't just her words that hurt me, but the fact that she sat there with her equally shallow friends and made fun of my appearance. She didn't even try to defend me. On the contrary, she joined in the fun. That's what hurt the most. I was the one who paid for absolutely everything she wanted and constantly cared about her happiness. So I clearly didn't deserve that kind of treatment. Moreover, I started working even harder to support both of us, so hearing her mock me for not being as attractive as her was especially painful. She packed her things right after the argument and left about an hour later. I didn't even try to stop her. I was that angry and hurt. For the next 2 days, I completely immersed myself in work to numb myself and not feel anything. It's clear that I had fallen out of love with her a long time ago, but I was still used to her presence. Sometimes I thought I could fall in love with her again, but now that it was all over, I just didn't know what to do with myself alone in the empty house I returned to. This morning, I got a message from Bella saying she still loves me and is ready to make things right if I want to. She wrote that she misses me terribly and can't imagine her life without me. I still haven't replied because I don't know what to say to her. I don't know if I miss her, if I love her, if I want to get back together or not. I don't have answers to any of these questions because my feelings are in complete chaos right now. I don't know how to respond to her. I feel like a complete jerk for what I did to her. Maybe she was right. Maybe I really misunderstood everything and made a mountain out of a molehill. After all, I did use Bella to advance Irene's career and get rich myself. So, before we continue, I suggest you write your opinion in the comments about what you've heard. We had a similar story quite recently, I think you heard it. But there the girl was making fun of the guy's intimate details. This seems like something else to me though, well, and there I said that I don't even know how to feel about it. On the one hand, it's not normal and immature. On the other hand, when you're young, that kind of thing really does happen, and maybe it's not worth judging so harshly, especially when you're both young and immature. But here I think it's a slightly different situation, because here the girl tells her friends straight up that she's only dating her boyfriend because he's a rich, dumb guy. But that, in my opinion, is beyond the pale. It's one thing to say he moans weirdly or has a strangely shaped something or other, but saying something like that is another thing entirely. So probably the author did everything right. That's what I think. Could it have been just some kind of show-off for her friends? Well, in theory, maybe it could, but that characterizes a person very badly if they allow themselves to do that just to show off in front of their friends. Let's continue and find out what happened next. Update. In the end, I didn't reply to Bella's message. I read a lot of comments and messages on my post and realized that I might have actually crossed a line. I was even going to contact Bella and apologize for everything that happened, but then I got a message from a friend who wanted to tell me something. She sent me a screenshot of a conversation with Bella in which she asked to stay with her for a while until her loser boyfriend, that's me, made up with her, or until she found someone new. Her friend told me that Bella had sent this message to their whole group and said she had left after a fight, but she didn't explain what the fight was about. This friend felt awkward because Bella kept talking trash about me even though we were supposed to get married in a couple of months. So she decided to tell me what Bella was saying about me behind my back just to ease her conscience. She didn't know that I was already aware of how Bella talked about me, but I'm grateful her conscience woke up in time and saved me from apologizing to Bella and taking her back. I really dodged a bullet there. All the criticism and condemnation I received for staying with Bella just for revenge was completely justified. That's what made me reconsider my attitude towards the situation and almost pushed me to apologize. But fortunately, we all just had a guardhouse slant note. This is a literal translation of a Russian idiom Gvardiysky zanos, which implies a sudden extreme change in perspective or a realization that one's initial judgment was completely wrong, often due to new information. The closest English equivalent might be a complete reversal or a sudden about-face. Because Bella really deserved everything I did to her. Maybe if it were a normal, less selfish person, I would have admitted I was wrong. But this is Bella we're talking about. She's literally the embodiment of narcissism and selfishness. I still can't believe she was ready to come back to me just because she had nowhere to live. Although it's not surprising because in recent months she had become quite lazy. She only went to castings and did nothing around the house. But it didn't bother me. I calmly cleaned up after both of us because she was bringing me good money thanks to Irene. She didn't even go shopping, so I spent less than I earned. When I saw that screenshot, I was so glad I hadn't replied to her yet, and after that I decided for sure there would be no reconciliation. She's just a disgusting person. What I did to her could almost be called crazy, but she fully deserved it. I blocked her on all possible platforms, and I'm even thinking about moving to a bigger apartment to avoid running into her completely. I've already come up quite a bit thanks to Irene and her father, and in a couple of weeks I'm due for a raise, so it's the perfect time to start planning a move and looking for a new place. My friends were pretty surprised when I told them the wedding was off as they had no suspicions, but when I told them everything, they were shocked that I had even managed to pull off such a story. Some think she deserved it, others think I went too far and should have just broken up with her the day I heard her joke. I'm sure when everyone finds out about her fake declaration of love just so she could continue living with me rent-free and without contributing to the household at all, they'll all agree that she fully deserved what I did to her. Even if she manages to find a guy who will let her move in with him after a couple of months of dating, I doubt he'll be as blinded and charmed as I was and will let her live at his expense. Although who knows, maybe she will. I don't care anymore, I'm just glad she's gone and that I won't have to deal with her in the foreseeable future. I guess she realized that not every guy will turn a blind eye to her lifestyle and not everyone will just agree to let her move in and spend their money. Unless she decides to look for a sugar daddy, but that's a whole other story. Bella somehow got hold of another number and started writing to me, trying to blackmail me into taking her back. The tactic, to put it mildly, was unsuccessful. She tried to intimidate me by saying that if I didn't let her stay until she found a new boyfriend, she would tell everyone that I used her connections in the modeling industry to help my rich cousin. I hope she understands that if she doesn't tell the whole truth, people will just think I was being a good relative. And I really hope she's not naive enough to think she can talk all kinds of crap about me and I'll just sit there and stay silent. I told her that if she starts talking about me, I'll tell everyone what she did and the truth will come out. Besides, she has a decent audience on social media, so it will hurt her much more than it will hurt me. She hasn't replied yet, and I hope she doesn't because I'm really sick of her. But as if messages weren't enough, today Bella showed up at my work. The receptionist called me because Bella refused to leave until she saw me. I had to take her to a nearby cafe to talk there and not embarrass myself in front of my colleagues, because I immediately knew Bella was about to make a scene, and that's exactly what happened as soon as we sat down at the table. She started whining about how I treated her unfairly and that she deserves a second chance no matter what. She wants to prove that under the right circumstances she could be a good girlfriend. This surprised me a lot. I asked her what she meant by the right circumstances because as far as I knew, she had ideal conditions. She lived completely stress-free and didn't pay for anything. And as it turned out, that's exactly what she meant by circumstances. She said I spoiled her rotten by letting her walk all over me. If I had stood up to her more often, maybe she would have been more attracted to me. I was too spineless and average looking. And on top of that, I had no self-esteem, which made it damn easy for her to boss me around without a drop of guilt. And that's exactly why she said what she said. But now that she found out I'd been secretly making a fool out of her all this time, she suddenly started feeling attracted to me. And according to her, she can now take me seriously as a potential boyfriend. I'm not making this up, she actually said this out loud. I had a hard time keeping myself from laughing in her face while she was saying this because it was just absurd. I don't know if this was her last desperate trick to get me back or if she actually believed what she was saying, but it was damn funny. In the end, I just said I'd think about her words and contact her later because I could barely hold back my laughter. She even made me promise I'd talk to her when I got home. Here's another reason I'm glad we broke up. She always started baby talking when she realized I was mad at her. No idea why? Maybe she thought acting like a little girl would make her more attractive in my eyes. It actually just disgusted me. I was too polite to tell her that. I got home half an hour ago. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that after everything that happened, she's still trying to come back to me just so she has a place to live. It's really pathetic. She's so lazy and dependent on a man that she can't even muster up the last bits of pride and leave me alone. I'm not going to talk to her anymore, and I'll make sure that the next time she tries to get in touch, she understands that I don't even want to know her. Just 2 days passed since Bella showed up at my work, and today she called me again. This time from her friend's phone. I answered because I wanted to end things for good. When she asked if I had thought about her words, I replied that there was nothing to think about. And even if someone put a gun to my head and demanded I get back with her, I would still refuse. I went on a whole tirade and told her everything that had been building up inside. I said she was a pathetic loser I no longer intended to have anything to do with. She'd better start looking for someone new to leech onto. Bella started arguing, claiming the only reason I have a bunch of money now is because I used her and her connections to cozy up to my rich cousin. So in her words, I'm the one who leeched onto her. Well, that's where the story ends, and it might seem like an unexpected ending, but it's clear what happened next. They just broke up. And by the way, is it just me, or do questions pop up about how the author got all these connections from his girlfriend? The only thing that comes to my mind is that the dude just took Bella's phone and looked at all sorts of contacts from her clients, I guess. But maybe not. On the other hand, it seems like a wildly unreliable scheme. Or not? Anyway, write your opinion in the comments about this question. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Watch our previous videos, which you can see right here. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new videos. And good luck.